Beyond the Wild.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. This is Mark's favorite night, but here's getting ahead of myself a little bit there. We are going to do another species countdown. This one's near and dear, maybe to one of our hearts more than the others. I don't know. We're going to also share some unpopular opinions. And
he's bringing out the big guns.
He's already busting it out. Mark's going to hug his antler.
We're doing unpopular opinions too?
Throughout the entire episode. Yeah, well, unpopular opinions in relation to the subject, possibly. Jason already knows what it is. So how you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing really good.
Surviving?
Yeah, surviving. Yeah, doing more than surviving, honestly, right now. Just lots of prep for the trip that we're getting ready to go on to Alaska to go photograph bears. And I know we've talked a lot about it. We're recording this on July 30th, and we leave next Thursday to go to bear camp. So we're excited about that. I'm sure that we will probably already be through bear camp when this actually posts. But I was just telling the fellas before the show here that some of the folks I work with really think highly of me. And Ron actually mentioned that maybe some of them are gunning for a promotion potentially, but they shared a product with me. They got me a gift before I go on my trip. If you guys can see that if you're on YouTube, it's actually called Bear Balm. It's an actual product, and they told me that if I were to use this up there in camp, that I would be able to draw in more bears. And I think they're probably right. It's definitely it's a hickory smoked bacon smell. So this is what they told me I should use for my bear spray. And I can tell that there's a lot of love there with the folks that I work with. So
yeah, and I can tell you're not sleeping in my tent.
Oh, no, I'm not, because I'm spraying your tent.
Oh, wow. Everybody's buying life insurance policies on other people.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I'm definitely not taking this with me. I wouldn't be able to even get it on the plane, the float plane anyways. So, but yeah, kind of a fun little joke for sure. But,
well, I hope it was a joke.
Yeah, well, you never know. You got me questioning it more now too. So
if you come back to flat tires, you'll know.
Yeah.
They were serious about it.
Come back and my car's not there at the airport. I thought we thought you wouldn't need this anymore.
Oh. How about you, Mark?
What are friends for, right? Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Things are great. Office week for the most part, and it's been an incredibly dry summer here. So firewood is all ready to move in, and I want to get that all looked after before trips start too. So been doing that this week.
Getting ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Usually by the end of the summer, I like to have it all put away for the winter and be ready to enjoy this fine fireplace throughout the winter months and supplement the heat bill and all that stuff. Right. Being out in the country, propane, expensive enough these days. So the wood off of the property, if enough acreage there's so much available that I usually don't have to cut trees down. Trees come down, right? So
right.
Or some of these were along our hydro line that I had to trim this year too. So make use of them. But a bit of exercise, which is always welcomed too. There hasn't been enough of that this year. A lot more office time, and something we're switching out the floor in my office in a couple of weeks. And I have I have a piano. If anybody wants a piano, the kids are gone. And it's not huge. It's a Wurlitzer, but you have to come and get it.
I knew that was going to be the next thing out of your mouth.
You haul.
You move it, you haul it. Yep.
Price is right. And then in my office, when I started in this business, I had a good contract landed, and so I got this big desk for editing because it was all slides and everything. Still needed space back then, so I have this big oak lawyer's desk that is awesome, but it's old school. And so I've asked a couple of people. I asked my son, "What should I do with it?" One of my friends said, "Burn it," because it's so big and heavy. So I'm going to move it out and get rid of it, and I want to get a standing desk, one that goes from sitting to standing, for health reasons, because weeks and months go by, and I'm hoping that'll be a better choice. So that's on the horizon too.
Hey, you know what, Mark? It's funny you mentioned that. So for work, we have desks like that at work, which is really I'm really glad that we do, because it allows you to, not just sit the entire day. And I actually tried to take that to the next level. And I've been experimenting with it, but it's been pretty effective. And you got to pick and choose your meetings that you can do it on. But I actually bought one of those just walking treadmills. They're just small. They're smaller. They don't have the handles on them. They just slide it underneath your desk. And I'm actually, probably 3-4 times a week during an hour-long meeting, I just turn that thing on and walk during the meeting. So I'm not just sitting on my butt. But anyways, just always looking for ways to try to stay active and get steps in, and, not just sit the entire time. Just some food for thought for everybody, but you too. So
cool. Might have to wear a helmet and a mouth guard the first time on it with no rails, but yeah.
It's not that bad. You can hold on to your desk.
Eat the screen during a Zoom meeting.
You're not running. Good heck, man.
No, but if you step on the edge,
yeah,
it's lights out.
I told the folks outside my office to listen for any bumps and falls, just in case, so they can come rescue me for that reason. But
yeah, not saying I've done it, but I'm not saying I haven't. So we had somebody in the office. Her husband broke his foot. It was kind of right at the ankle joint, and he had to get one of those scooters. And so I decided to test my ability to do scooter tricks in the lobby of our teeny tiny bank. And let's just say the security camera footage was captured from all angles after this event. And maybe we'll put it on maybe we'll put it on there, maybe we won't.
Maybe you're seeing it right now if you're watching the YouTube.
It's possible.
Wait, maybe you should license it to Red Bull or something.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, I think Red Bull would take a look at that and think, yeah, this is not our guy.
It could be part of the
Definitely gave him wings, but
that was some of the other uncompromising positions and photos I've seen of you recently at work are really starting to make me wonder, like, maybe I need a job where you're at.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, so today, after just a little over 2 weeks, we finally got our air conditioning fixed. And you've heard me whine about it on the podcast maybe once or twice. It has been insanely hot in that building. And today, at least for the day, we've been burning up these fuses like crazy, but at least for the day, today was cool and it was super productive. Everybody was working hard today, nobody whining about the temperature. And the first time I hear somebody say it's too cold, they're going to catch something upside the head. I might go back and get one of those old erasers like your teachers used to throw at you. I mean, I don't know that you guys ever had that happen, but I certainly experienced my fair share of dodge eraser.
I never dodged it myself, but I absolutely did see it happen for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, it happened. I was just as mouthy as a kid.
That really shocks me. Really shocks me.
So what are we talking about tonight, Mark?
We're going to talk about moose. These guys. Look at this trailer hitch cover.
That's cool.
Is that what that is? I thought it was like a bobblehead.
Yeah. The trailer hitch I have now, I don't leave it on the truck. So yeah, it just fits over top. It's a rubber moose. Yeah. Yeah. One of the largest land mammals on the planet. One that gets everybody excited. It's just one of the strangest looking but coolest, fun to photograph species out there.
They are ugly.
Popular though.
That.
Everybody loves moose.
Wildly popular.
Sheer proportions, the long legs, the body mass, the big head, the giant antlers, and the bucket nose. I mean, so humorous.
And those sweet noises, the sweet sounds that they make.
Yes.
Go for it, Mark. Go for it.
Yeah, we know it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's you. They make a lot of great noises, but yeah, I may do some noises today. I don't know. But they even roar, right? Crazy. And the roar will have the hair on your neck stand up. It is intense. It's like freight train and extreme agitation and look out.
Never heard
it. I've only heard it 3 or 4 times in all these years, and it's always with bulls about to fight and extremely agitated in the peak of the rut. And the first time it happened, it was like, what is that? I always had this big bull coming toward, taking pictures of it, and the other bull was in trees off a bit behind, and it roared in there. And I was like, holy cow, what is going on? Intense. So yeah, that's not a vocalization people hear very often, but it's immensely powerful to hear.
Do you know how to do it?
Oh, I do it all the time. Yeah.
Do you really?
No.
I've honestly never heard it. I really haven't.
It's rare. It's honest. It's like a lion's roar. Not quite, but it is a roar.
Maybe JG can find an audio clip of it to play on the podcast.
I might have one. I'll have to check.
I'd like to hear it. I'll be Googling it after this, see if I can find one. But yeah.
Yeah, I had it happen once, and I was doing video, but I don't know if the roar is on it. With 2 bulls in a forest scene that were fighting, and they had actually just fought, and then the one backed off a bit and then roared. It was like, yeah.
Hey, quick side note, rabbit trail, but you brought it up, so we're going to go there. What animal roars in the MGM movie opener?
Are you talking about the picture or the actual roar?
What animal?
You're not going to answer.
Yeah. What we see is a lion.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Clearly.
What do
You're
hear?
telling us that's not a lion sound.
It's not.
No,
I know that.
Tiger.
It's a tiger, I'm pretty sure.
Tiger.
Yeah. This is a Hollywood thing, right? It's the eagle and the red-tailed hawk.
Red-tailed hawk drives me absolutely bonkers. Every raptor that flies over in any movie ever, it could be a bald eagle and they play a red-tailed hawk.
I know, and they don't sound anything like that.
And when we did the BBC show, the Swift Fox show, I sent them probably 4 or 5 hours of Swift Fox vocalizations. No, they made up a completely different noise.
Really?
I'm not kidding you.
They had the real audio.
They had the real audio.
That's crazy.
But they hire guys to create sound design. And so apparently they feel obligated to use their creative energies.
Nice.
Rather than just using the actual vocalizations. But going back to moose, they make a lot of interesting sounds.
Yeah,
and
that was a little bit of a rabbit trail.
That was. I told you it was
I love
going
it.
to be. I didn't know when I was a kid. I did not know that moose vocalized. I didn't hear it actually really sit and listen and observe until I was out of college working for the Game and Fish, because the area where I went to college, there's no moose out there. Out in eastern South Dakota, not far from there, there's plenty, but none where I was. And then when I started to get out and actually observe, and the first time that I heard it, it was even the little bull calls in the rut.
Ooh.
Yeah. I didn't I didn't know what that was when, and then all of a sudden I turn around and there's this bull and he's blowing, rut breath at me.
Ooh. Ooh.
He did not give the kisses.
He was about to.
He was trying. Yeah. But yeah, so it was interesting the first time I heard that, and then the first time I heard a cow. That's a whole different experience. You're listening to the bulls and you know the sound that they make, and then the cow vocalizes and long drawn out, and to see some calls that like native guys use. I've seen them use them in Alaska where they like pull a string through a small hole in a coffee can and it makes that long drawn out.
Mm-hmm. Come on, do it.
Mark,
I'm having fun waiting for you guys. Or there's the birch bark, but again, these are big, lustful, once a year mating season animals, so you don't have to. But hearing them is wonderful, and the cows, they're a quiet animal a lot of the time, but when there's a couple together, they'll talk quietly, cow and a calf. Mm-hmm. You hear vocalizations sometimes, but a cow in heat, or often that long drawn out one is a cow that's being harassed by a younger bull and she's complaining, and will draw in a bigger bull if he can hear it. But yeah, it's really, this description doesn't match the looks necessarily, but an eloquent language, right? I mean, it's kind of soft spoken aside from the roar, because even when the big bulls walk and they take that, like every other step you hear, ooh. They don't do that
and the
all
head
the time.
Waving back and forth.
If they're really feeling it, yeah.
Especially if they're feeling it, they've got a threat
male
right in front of them. Yeah.
That's one of the compositional pro tips I had written down too. Is the tipping the antlers back and forth.
Yeah,
with that Great. Look in the eye. Yeah.
Behaviorally, they're interesting. They're just very deliberate, and I guess you don't have to be a sprinter when you're that stinking big.
You're right.
You can afford some deliberate movement.
Yeah, I don't often see them having to go out and all out run. But yeah, I'll get it out of the way. The females do a variety of things. It's just it doesn't always have to be long. Sometimes it is, but just when she's tending with a bull, she'll make those sounds. Or if the bull's made a wallow pit and urinated in it and rolled in it, then she'll roll in it and make those sounds. It's a whole pheromonal perfume concoction of the rut, which if you're close to a wallow pit or downwind of a bull in the rut, you can certainly pick up on it. They'll do what you'll hear sometimes from a distance is the longer call, which is and that's moose talk.
Are you out of breath?
Not out of breath, but I could have made it longer, I guess. I don't know. That's
the crazy thing about
for 2 minutes we can see who can do the longest moose call.
Yeah, no,
right.
Nobody wants to listen to that. I can assure you.
Everybody's going to be like, beep.
Yeah, and we're done.
We're good for calls.
But the size, I mean, looking at the Shiras moose, which is a subspecies that we have in Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, they're a big animal. But then when you get to Alaska, it's like, and I've talked about it before, the best size comparison I can give is, a smaller horse in Wyoming or an average size horse, I should say. But you get to Alaska, and I had a rental, the Toyota Tundra rental truck that I was sleeping in, had a topper on it. Great camp. And this bull walked like clear across the tundra up toward the road and crossed the road like right in front of me. It was, kind of picked his angle and just parked and waited. And he crossed the road right in front of me. And when that thing in the tundra, you don't realize how deep the tundra is. And we've talked about that before too. It looks like it's flat going across there, but when that bull stepped out and stepped up on the road, his antlers were well above the top of that tundra. And it was an enormous, enormous animal. And the size difference between a Chirus and an Alaskan moose is, I don't know if it's 30%, but it sure looks like it. I don't.
Oh, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, I bet it's more. I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And
well, even the cows, right? I mean, the cows blew my mind. The first time I saw an Alaskan cow moose up close by a vehicle, I was like, holy cow. Haha. Pun intended. I love it.
See what you did there.
Exactly.
I wish I could take credit, but it was not intentional.
Yeah, I've often joked that Alaska-Yukon cow, and I know it wouldn't really happen, but an eastern or southern subspecies of moose would see that and run. A male would run from her, but there's quite a difference. But I mean, structurally, they're very similar proportions, just mass is different, antler structure is different, breeding biology is different, and duration of the rut is a bit more intense and shorter further north because the season doesn't last as long. So that's why they harem versus other subspecies in the forest ones in the east that they'll match up with one partner and then one female for a day or two while she's in heat. Then when she comes out of heat and presumably successfully bred, find another female. But in the north, it's the females that come to the biggest male. And their annual rutting grounds that are traditions where these females know to come to. And another cool thing about there's so much biology and behavior with moose that makes them a blast to photograph, observe, and learn about. The females that have calves, especially like twin calves, rarely get right into the harem because of the risk to the calves, because the females have a pecking order, a dominance hierarchy that they have to suss out, figure out in that harem. So the bigger females, if they come into heat at the same time, get the attention of the bull that at that day is in charge of the harem or has the right to breed that harem. But the risk to the calves, they sometimes stay on the periphery or even don't even harem. And I've seen situations where I've bumped into a cow with twin calves with a really nice bull, miles and miles and miles, kilometers away from any hareming ground. And these are satellite bulls that are almost big enough to harem, but not quite. And he'll tend that cow in those situations. And then the calves are safer that way too.
So Mark, for those of you that don't know, literally wrote a book on moose. Probably the best visuals on any, that cover is one of the best visuals. And I think that cover is been recently on your Instagram, right? So people can go see that image.
Yeah.
Or that bull.
Pinned. I think it's pinned on there. And yeah, the book it's award winning. It's been amazingly well received. One of my favorite projects of my whole career. It's in its second printing. It's doing exceptionally well. And I know so many of you have bought it, ordered it, and thank you. Or even friends through social media, be in some bookstore in a park somewhere and send me pictures of it and appreciate that. Even had some ordered this week. I'll do a quick spin in that they're available at any bookstore, but we have copies here that I sign and we'll write something in and send if you did want to order it. It's a little more expensive in that I have to pay the $25 to ship it to you, but it's worth it for the signature. And I'm even going to do another little promotion here, which is I'm going to have to order more of these this week, but I'll throw in some stickers, enticement. Everybody needs Beyond the Wild stickers. So whether it's moose or more recently caribou.
No, we're on moose tonight.
I know. I'm just saying it. I'm pivoting for a second. It's a lesser rabbit hole. Or we still have a few whitetails. And if you order all three, there's a package price. And just message me on social media if you're interested. Gotta say it. And they're priced so well. They're ridiculously priced for what they are. And each, so I'm going to keep going just a little bit longer.
It's turned into a longer rabbit trail.
Yeah. It's going to, you know how sometimes rabbit burrows have an exit on the other side of the hill? Well, we're going there.
Yeah, I know.
And
all the way to Whittier.
Yeah. That's a fun drive. Each chapter starts with an anecdotal story from the field. So the writing is well received and quite interesting that way. And the final chapter of the book is photographing moose too, which suits for this show. But it's a collection of favorite images over a couple of decades of moose all over North America, and it covers everything about moose. So
that's what I was going to ask, but we went on a rabbit crusade.
Yeah, we got there.
So you cover just North American moose. So my question was about European and the size difference.
Elk.
So the size over in Europe compared to the North American species, do you know where they would rank compared to the subspecies in North America?
I've never been there, so I didn't include them. I mean, my background in biology and all the years working with moose and writing about moose, etc., is why we did this book. And by the way, I think, anyway, in Russia, the moose are just as big as Alaska and the Yukon. So the geographical distribution and size of the species over there kind of mirrors what's here. So the further south they are, they get a little smaller in Finland and places like that. And I haven't seen images of robust antlers in some European areas, but Russia in like Kamchatka area and that huge, just like Alaska-Yukon. So, and they all look like moose. They're all big animals, but I think it's similar in that in some of the European countries where they're a little further south, it's a similar size differential that we see here in North America.
Are they the same species technically? Like the ones in
Yes,
Kamchatka?
same species designated into different subspecies. Yeah.
And so like the smaller version of the moose over there would be a Shiras moose still? Or are they a different?
No, they would have a different name.
It would. Interesting.
Yeah.
Just because of their geographical location?
Yeah, I believe so. And it's moose over there are called elk too, right?
Well, that's why you said that. I was seriously wondering what if you were having a seizure or something. But.
That's why So they call them elk, but it's we just covered the 4 subspecies in North America for distribution for this book.
Gotcha.
So I would have to do some Googling to get the specific names.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just
of the species
knowing
there.
that there's a difference there is interesting. I didn't know that they would name them different. But yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, I believe so.
Photographing moose, to kind of make a transition from the biological aspects, photographing moose is definitely enjoyable. You don't have to worry about a lot of movement. However, you get up in Alaska and those things can cover miles and miles and miles and miles. Or if you're from Canada, kilometers and kilometers and kilometers and kilometers.
If they're on the move, if they're heading away when you spot them, so in open country, pro tip strategy is we hike to a high knoll and sit down and glass the tundra and taiga forests around, and it's incredible how these massive animals can be just out of sight behind a willow thicket bedded, and they'll bed for 3 or 4 hours, assuming it's not peak rut, but especially through summer and into early fall, pre-rut, they bed a lot. And then, of course, winter they do to conserve energy as well. But they can vanish. So it's a matter, we go to a high point and we sit down with our binoculars and enjoy the view and wait for like an hour and or more, depending. Sometimes we'll hike to another high point. But if an animal gets up and it's a mile or a kilometer, 1.3 kilometers, whatever away, and it's moving away, and it seems determined to do so, then we rarely don't hike to it because their walking speed is like us jogging, and they have longer legs, and it's a lot of the terrain they're in can be navigated, but we have to take more time than a moose does to get through it. So ideally they're browsing or, working around a pond edge, reflection opportunities, or coming in the direction toward where we were glassing from. And then we wait and get in position, and never too close. I mean, that's the benefit of telephotos because they all have different personalities too. But, I love getting them against the sky, and in the far north against the snow-capped mountains is the dream. That's the publishing gold, right? And in the day, to get a moose with snow-capped mountains in the background was one that was virtually sure to sell to a publication. But behaviors are super fun and important to do as well. And just a big moose in motion can make a very dynamic image. And but yeah, they cover ground. So we have to be strategic about the photo opportunity, even when we see the animal, how to do it if it's possible, depending on what they're doing. And if they walk past and they're still walking, then they're kind of going because we're not going to be able to keep up. And it's some images do look okay over the backside with the back of the antlers with the scene, but we won't take as many of those as coming toward us, right, for impact. So once that happens, but there's all kinds of different situations. We see a bull might get up and we don't realize there's another one there. And, 15 minutes, another one gets up. When that happens, they can be more static in the situation, especially pre-rut, because if they're similar in size, and even if they're not that similar, as long as it's not right close to the rut, they'll often spend a few days hanging out together, a couple of males, and spar. And so being aware of that when seeing two males, it's something, again, with experience of recognizing their behavior, getting in position to try and collect images if they do come together. And if they do spar, it can last for quite a while. They could spar for 20 minutes sometimes and create all kinds of amazing opportunities, which is a huge thrill to photograph and witness and hear. I mean, to film it in video, Ron, would be, right, the slow-mo or even not slow-mo, to hear the antlers, to get the audio of that clanking.
I've got a video of two bulls sparring, but I think it's vertical. JG could still put it in, but it was not photographable. There's two bulls that were just inside the real heavy timber. Wasn't photographable, but I did get some just cell phone video, and the sound that comes from the antlers are large, the big pans, and when those things crack, elk are loud when the antlers come together, but moose, it's like a megaphone. It seems like just the way the antlers structure is formed, and then that much of a mass of bone coming together, and those tines locking up. It's incredibly impressive, and it just the size of those animals, I think, is probably what puts you in awe more than anything else. Just the sheer volume of material they can move while they're fighting. There's nothing too large that they don't have to, or that they have to worry about getting through it. They just go.
Yeah, they just like elk in North America here, if two big bulls start to fight. There's a lot of posturing. That's another cool thing about moose and elk too, right? They'll do it, but in a different kind of way, where the North American elk kind of parallel each other a bit and walk and look at each other and size one another up before they fully engage in a battle. Moose will do it when they pop out and they'll start head tipping as they walk toward one another. And every step they're, reassessing whether they want to engage with this opponent. And sometimes they break off and run, and they don't have to run far. They don't tend to chase as much as elk. So it might just chase a few steps and the other one runs off and backs down and moves away. But if they engage, it's tremendous power to see. And it's so when there's harems, that happens more often because of the quantity of females there is a huge attractant. So all the competitive males are going to be around that area and trying to overthrow the bull that's in charge of the harem. And I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, but just touching on it because this is a moose episode, is the energy required to hold a harem is virtually impossible for one animal to keep it throughout the rut because of all the cows, the mating behavior, the tending, making wallow pits, and chasing off young bulls and then battling competitor bulls wears an animal down even after a handful of days. So frequently they get bumped and another bull will come in, and that helps with the genetic diversity of that mating season too, with the females in that harem, that there'll be potentially a few different bulls over the course of the rut that hold that harem and do breeding. But what's interesting to watch is the biggest bull that might be displaced due to exhaustion after 3 or 4 or 5 days will rest up. It's almost like they know that. They're tired. They'll rest up for a couple of days and then come back in and often retake the harem too. So it's, and they all have different strategies too. Watching some of them, I've seen this in whitetails. Some individuals have a strategy for battling that gives them an advantage, and one for moose, because the largest bulls can be like 1,800 pounds. So you think of their body mass. If the individual's smart enough to always pivot to be a little bit uphill, if the terrain isn't flat, that advantage of pushing downhill on the opponent can be huge. And that's one of the proven techniques for the most successful bulls as well. And yeah, it's amazing dynamic to witness. I think the cows, again, with their dominance hierarchy in harems, will box. They'll stand up on their hind hooves and flail. And not that both will do that unless they're really evenly matched. One might do that and chase off another cow. But there's just so much activity and vocalization going on. It's really a peak of photo opportunity. But there's so many other elements of moose photography, and even in areas where the subspecies don't harem. I mean, there's in the east, you've got them in fall colors at that time. So deciduous forest, just reds and yellows and beautiful scenery. And there's so much opportunity. And I've touched on this before too, with any ungulate species. A pro tip for one of my favorite, if not my favorite pose to get because of marketability, or how marketable it is lip curling or flemin. And anytime a female that is near a male and is near the rut, even if it's not rut, it can be pre-rut or post-rut, if she urinates, if you see the female urinate and the bull heads that direction, then be ready for him to lower his head, which he'll do, for probably 20 seconds, and then he'll lip curl. And what he's doing is he's testing whether or not she's in heat with an organ in his upper oral region called the Jacobson's organ. And he'll inhale air to do that and tip his head back. And what's cool about these most northern moose is they have wider antlers, as you all know, but they're also whiter. They're more reflective. They can be seen at a greater distance than forest-dwelling woodland moose. And that can be a challenge to expose at times. Whereas when they tip their heads back, if they have significant brow tines, which this subspecies has the largest brow tines of any in North America, the northern ones, the Alaska-Yukon, it's darker underneath, and they have all these tines. And so the exposure's better. They have this crazy look to them, right? They're wide-eyed. They've got their mouth open. And it is one of the telltale most marketable moose images. But we've talked about it where if he puts his head down, you've got that 20 seconds within reason, within safety, what could be done to think about your background photographically or video, or even not just the background. Are you going to zoom in for a tight shot? Or are you going to zoom out? And what kind of composition? You've got time to think about that, or to reposition slightly.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed with moose too, at least on the Chirus, I haven't spent a ton of time on the northern moose, but the Chirus that I've photographed, when they do lip curl, they tend to really put their head back too. They really put that head back almost 90 degrees to the ground.
Howl at the moon.
Yeah, that kind of a pose, which really makes it, that much cooler too. So A lot of times elk, they don't do that. They'll put their head to the side, or bison are very much the same. They don't really get into it. Deer, I've seen really get after it, but moose, they really put that head back, which really shows off those antlers, like you're talking to, Mark. So yeah, pretty cool.
Probably the longest too that they do it for.
Yeah.
And they'll do it, you hope that you're at an angle where it's not just over their back. If you've got a profile or quartering toward them, they'll turn and rotate their head and sometimes give you a double take of it, like a second chance in that same lip curl. So there's opportunity to, honestly, when a big bull lip curls, I'll take, a dozen different compositions. I'll zoom in, and each head turn is a subtle, different look, straight on, profile, quartering, in tight, zoomed out, hopefully zoomed out with the female in the frame too, or the habitat. All of that, as a photographer, everything we can get to tell the story.
And they're big enough animals, you wouldn't have any problem doing it with the 100 to 300 f2.8 from Canon that is sold at Picture Line.
Call Colin. He'll take care of you.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's podcast.
Fitting you said that though, Ron, because I've had a lot of people hitting me up about that lens. I think they've been hearing us talk about it. So
it's pretty crazy.
It is. So
look for, and most of the areas where we were at with moose, honestly, the last time I was in Alaska, I had the 200 to 500. That was perfect. Because you had so much flexibility, as Mark was talking about, working the scene and getting different compositions and things like that. You're out to 200, zoom in, get some tighter shots at 500 millimeter. But it's a very flexible lens, and I think this one is going to lend the same flexibility. Sony's got a 200 to 600 that is great for that range and for those reasons. Nikon's got the 180 to 600. Doesn't really matter what camera system you've got an option there now. I am still waiting for Canon to do the 0, 1.4 and 2x teleconverter that you never have to take off. That would be amazing. If anyone is listening from Canon, hopefully you are, since you sponsor the podcast. But
you can call it the Ron teleconverter.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel the need, you certainly could use my name. But I think that's the one thing or the one advantage to photographing moose that you don't typically get from. That's not fair. I was going to say you don't really get from elk, but it depends on where you're at. Moose tend to reside in just big, giant, beautiful country. And so you've got more opportunities, in my opinion, to get some nice environmental portraits versus, sometimes elk can be in the valleys and your options are just really limited, or they're in the shadows trying to stay out of the heat and your options get limited. They both live in beautiful places for sure, but I think I've had more opportunities with moose, and maybe it's just where I've gone to photograph them. Western Wyoming and Alaska and Canada, that lend itself to, a more creative environmental composition. But, in Western Wyoming, the rut happens it happens quite a lot later than it does in Alaska. So you might be second week in October and still be in the heart of the rut or in the peak of the rut. And that gives you opportunities for some beautiful color too, because the vast majority of the time they're in, the willow or cottonwood bottoms and those yellow leaves and some reds in places out west, but more yellow gives you an opportunity to capture just some very creative compositions that are only going to last for a couple of weeks, honestly. And if you get a bad windstorm, it might be 1 week by the time you hit peak color. I would love to go back east and photograph moose and elk because the colors back there are just incredible. And Mark, probably, even north to where you're at home, you guys get some incredible falls.
Oh, there's no, well, yeah, everywhere from northern Ontario right through to like New England, Maine, Vermont. It's all New York State, Adirondacks. October is surreal. If it's a normal fall, the colors are just amazing to witness with or without an animal. And so, yeah, one of these years, I would love to have you guys. It's such a tight window for all of us, right? Where we spend that time. But if there was an opportunity, yeah, to do moose here with the colors, would be a lot of fun. I know a spot.
Yeah, I think it would be a good opportunity. I mean, just something that we don't see, autumns like that, because we're a lot more wide open, and you get little pockets of vegetation, little cottonwood bottoms, aspen, and that's about all the color we get, and the willows, of course. But yeah,
the yellows are beautiful there. The eastern moose in the summer. I mean, the antler cycle is another thing about moose that just deserves pointing out. I mean, just incredible that they grow this solid bone on their heads. The males do, and annually, right, and shed them. And photographing that is fun, for those that have the opportunity to do that through the seasons. But in the east, summer best places to see moose, just because of sightline, are along pond edges and in water, and kayaking and canoeing, and they're often swimming and can dive impressively far down to pull up aquatic plants for the sodium in the roots, which is a sight to behold. And photographing is a ton of fun and seeing. So there's a bit of an overlap with potential bug season at that time, but you hope for a bit of a breeze on the water that day. So in the summer, but then as in the east, like you say, with the forests, you can't see the moose, a kilometer away like we can in Yukon or Alaska. So it's more targeting openings, and they're doing the same thing. They're walking clearings or hydro lines or anywhere that the vegetation, for one reason or another, has been reduced, and those are good places to look. So it's in places that are logged. Old mill sites are a good place to be able to see far enough, and you still have that tremendous foliage background, for when you are lucky and spot an animal too. So it's not, my strategy for eastern moose is not to wander the thick forest looking for them. It's more still picking openings, but they're just not as vast as they are in the north. Should we do you want to pivot and tell a moose story or six, or?
Sure. You've got the most. I have one probably.
Go, Jason.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
So actually, I made it on to the Toron's site with this story.
Oh, good.
I should have said it a little sooner, because I thought both Mark and Ron were taking a drink, and I might have been able to get them to spit. So, again, sometimes that site really frustrates me, and it's because of the perspective. And people take advantage of that, and they post those things because it gets comments and likes, and I get it, But I was up in the Tetons photographing moose in the winter, and one of the rules up there is that you are not to allow the moose to lick your vehicle. You can actually get a ticket for letting the moose lick your vehicle, the salt off your vehicle. And you also can get a ticket for approaching moose and being too close and harassing wildlife. So we were in a little bit of a predicament as we finished photographing one evening, and I was with about 4 other folks. And we were walking back to the vehicles, and a younger bull had come in towards the vehicles as we were approaching the vehicles. and he decided that he wanted to come and lick the vehicles. So we kept the vehicles between us, and we're trying to kind of shoo him away, hey, get out of here, whatever, keep him from trying to do it. He never did, but as he was doing that, there was somebody back from the main road with a long lens, videoing and getting some photos and stuff of this whole encounter. So those videos ended up on the Toron's site. But and a lot of times those videos there's no context, right? So people don't understand what's going on in the story. But anyways, it was a pretty interesting experience because that one bull came in, the other moose that we were photographing, as we were messing with this one, we turned around and here come 4 or 5 other bulls. And pretty soon we're with the vehicles and we're in a spot where we're kind of off a back road. We're on a 2-track. It's legal, but we're in the snow and we're off a back road. And so to get out of there, we need a little bit of time to be able to turn around. And so we finally, are trying to shoo these moose away without them licking our vehicles. And then we finally just gave up and got in the vehicles and tried to just, get out of there before they could get too much salt into their system. So anyways, not a crazy story. The moose were pretty close to us. A couple times, one of them got a little frisky and started like jumping and kicking because we kept kind of hollering at him. Every time he'd come to get a lick, we'd kind of pound on the vehicle and he'd kind of jump back a little bit. And he decided he got a little frisky and started kicking and kind of jumping and stuff. And that fired up a couple of the other ones. And anyways, so it wasn't a dangerous situation. We kept the vehicles between us and the moose, and we finally were able to get out of there and without too much going on. But that's probably about the most exciting story I've had with moose, photographing moose. Had some pretty good shoots with moose for sure. Generally speaking, they gather up there in the winter time. And I was actually going to ask you that question, Mark, too, earlier, is do the northern moose gather in bachelor herds like that, like the moose down here do after the rut's over and kind of starting into the winter season, or do those bigger bulls, they just wander off on their own and very solitary? But that's kind of what I thought.
More solitary, yeah.
Gotcha. Because the Chirus, they tend to group up in big groups. The bulls will get in their bachelor groups at least until after they kind of shed their antlers and stuff. But
yeah, you could get a couple of bulls hanging out together, or the other exception would be if there's some really preferred forage in an area, a bunch of hemlocks or something that is a strong pocket. Then there could be a whole bunch of moose in there yarding up that way. But socially, though, I haven't seen them interested in getting a larger bachelor group. Usually it's just a couple, if not solitary.
Yeah. What's fun about that situation for the folks, in the lower 48 that can get to the Tetons in that area, and it's not a secret by any means, it's pretty well known, but you get all these moose hanging out, these bulls, and they definitely like to do the same behaviors, the sparring and all that stuff. So you can actually get some really interesting behaviors and some pretty incredible shots, of creek crossings and reflections and, sparring behavior and, epic backgrounds. Even if you're lucky, you can kind of get the Tetons in the background. And, there's some hot springs up there that people have seen these photos, the hot springs with the reflections and the Tetons in the back. And so it's work and it takes a little luck, but if you spend enough time up there, you can get some pretty amazing images. And there's other places you can photograph moose too. Very similar. I like to look along power line. Even in the thicker woods, you can look along those power line clearings, pipeline clearings, things like that. They seem to be in those areas too sometimes. But anyways, yeah.
More willows and forage.
Yeah, willows and marshy areas and by rivers. And yeah, that's just moose in general. I think everybody kind of knows that, but that's definitely what they're drawn to for sure. But
and if you see one heading to water, odds are it's going to go drink too. So just like the lip curling, if you could see that trajectory, and if there's an opportunity to get in a position to have a good angle on it, then that gives usually a few minutes to prepare.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I was going to say a little bit ago when you were talking about, you hope for a little bit of a breeze for the bugs, because the bugs can be insane in those bog type areas. But the other piece of that is moose give you more opportunity than probably any other large ungulate species to get good reflection shots because they do spend so much time around water. And for that reason, you want the wind to stay away, but for survival reasons, a little breeze is kind of nice. It makes things a lot more comfortable. But not if you have the.
I'm going to get the sponsor here.
Yeah.
The bug shirt.
No, not the bug shirt. The
original
dragonfly.
bug shirt. Oh, the wingman. The
wingman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason's got his at the ready.
I was wearing it today. Yeah. Oh, it helps for the deer flies. Black flies, mosquitoes, I'm not so sure, but I haven't had a good test with them. And moose, I mean, the bugs, it's summer, right? June, July, usually by mid-August, at least here, they lessen. And by autumn, thankfully, it's not an issue. But the bug shirt, it's called the original bug shirt, original bug jacket. Again, wish they were sponsoring it here because it's great. It's a great product. The only thing about it, as a wildlife photographer, is it's light colored, so be aware of that. I'm sure somebody could change the color though, right? If it was important enough to dye it. And in some situations, the moose won't care, right? If they're in parks or if they see a canoe at a distance or a kayak, it's not a big deal. But some situations you might not want a light colored bug shirt on, but it works well. Hands aside, you got to have something else to cover your hands with too for the summer months.
Okay, now time for a quick break.
Hey, listen in. If you're still strapping your expensive camera to your neck with a flimsy strap that looks like more fashion than function, congrats, you're living on the edge. But hey, if you'd rather not risk turning your camera gear into a pile of broken dreams, then maybe, just maybe, check out Cotton Carrier Camera Carrying System. You can carry on living dangerously, or you can carry gear safe and sound with cottoncarrier.com. And while you're in there, use code BTW10 for a 10% discount on anything found on the website. cottoncarrier.com. I think probably one of my favorites has really nothing to do with encounters or behavior or anything like that. It's being able to stay with an individual, and to see those genetics passed on. So we've seen it in elk, but to see that. So there was a bull in like early on when I started getting serious about photography. I just lucked into this bull in Grand Teton National Park, and one of his brow tines kind of dips down and makes a little hook. So he was really unique looking. And so photographed him in 2012, 2013, and then he was taken by a hunter. And in 2020 and 2021, I started seeing some images of this bull that look pretty similar. And in 21, I was over in Grand Teton National Park and came across a little moose jam. And here is this bull. And I mean, he looks like the spitting image of the bull that I had photographed in 2013. And number one, they can live for a long time. They're large animals. They can live for a long time, but they don't stay at their peak antler growth. They're 5-6 years mark. They're going to be peak maturity.
Yeah.
And then they start to decline a little bit.
Yeah. 7 through 11 kind of things.
Yeah. And so we're talking, 7-8 years difference. And so it's obviously not the same bull, but he looked identical. Maybe not the same on top, didn't have tops as big as his dad, obviously, but it was the exact same structure on the brow tines and the same side. So it's to be able to see those genetics passed on. And again, we see that with several different species, but I love that bull just for that reason, because you can kind of relate and follow that bloodline through just based on their antler makeup and antler development.
So do you have them framed side by side on the wall?
I don't. I should, but
Yeah, that'd be
the
cool.
dad was with my first decent camera. It was a Canon 50D and then the 100 to 400 lens. That was the first combo that I ever bought. That was, a real life, solid professional type camera. And then the R5 just a few years ago with the Sun, and the Sun, it's probably my favorite moose image for a southern moose, Shiras moose, just in this beautiful color and just a perfect head on, nice shot, real dreamy bokeh front and back. So a good depth, in the image. And that's probably my favorite Chirus picture. But we'll put them in the show notes and you guys can kind of see. But yeah, or not the
On
show
YouTube.
notes. We'll put them in YouTube. Yeah.
If you're watching, yeah,
You
there it
can see
is.
those. Yep.
Very cool. I was similar thing happened recently. I was the big bull that I photographed last year, which saved the trip at the last day of the moose trip. Has a tremendous amount of points along his paddles, and that's cool. It's coveted. It's character. Moose all have different antlers. There was one huge bodied bull for years, maybe 4 or 5 years I photographed, and in Alaska, and his top of his paddles were just flat. So Pilly nicknamed him Mr. Blunt. And, again, it's not to give them names. It's more to talk to people, guess who I saw today, who I photographed, that kind of thing. The bull last year, it was a totally different region. Photographed this one in, but I just pieced together the same kind of situation, Ron. They're one of the biggest moose I ever photographed body-wise, and not the widest antlers, but a lot of character with tremendous points, probably 20 some on each antler. Was about 10 years ago, and I put the pictures up side by side, and it's the same area that bull was photographed. And he had the harem for years, a lot of it, because he was so big. So he had to have offspring. So it's cool to see that happen. And it's kind of rare in a way to have the antler mimicry, because the genetics are passed on from the dad, but it's also the mother's genetics can play in antler formation too, right? So it's, there may be 20 male moose, but then they have to make it to maturity, which is, again, a big win to get there for them, with predators and life and weather and winters and all kinds of things that can happen that cause stress or injury. It's a rarity. So it's cool to have those connections. Mm-hmm. I love following one moose year to year to year, but as we all know, our favorites disappear, right? With these species, they don't last as long as any of us would like them to. So it's a real thrill when the next generation comes along and there's a double of the big guy coming around. Yeah, very cool.
It's pretty crazy.
My love of moose.
Out of your thousands and thousands of encounters,
so many fun. Yeah.
What's the number one?
Oh, I can't. Number one.
It doesn't matter if you can't. You have to. There's no options here. What's number one?
Number one. Well, again, I don't have a number one. It's like picking your one picture. If I was forced
or your favorite child. I actually have a favorite child, but
I have a favorite grandchild.
Yeah.
Right, there's one. Yeah, nice. There's the favorite ones are maybe the top few I've told on the podcast before. There was the sparring sequence that is in the book, and it was a fun one because I was able to put 4 images, and it was 2 tremendous bulls in a just saturated color landscape pre-rut. And what made it memorable was memorable. Such a funny guy.
Well done.
Yeah. We saw them. My friend Bob and I were on this trip, and we glassed them probably half a mile away, and they were sparring, and it's not easy country to get to them. It wasn't a 5-minute walk, right? So it probably took us 20 minutes to get to them. The odds of them still sparring we're going for it, but we didn't expect them to last. And we got there, and they still sparred for like another 5 minutes after we arrived. And so that was amazing because of the bulls, how just beautiful animals, and the proximity we could make, and the fact that they weren't in the willows, right? You can have that where they're in the forest and the trees and the willows. You get a glimpse of antlers, and you hope to get a window where you have the heads clear or something. These guys were on like a flat, grassy opening in the tundra. So their bodies were clear, and so it was clean. And there was the finishing image in the sequence. They're perfectly parallel with the plane of the film, so that they're mirroring each other. So that was super exciting to get. And that was early on. That was 15 or more years ago, 20 years ago. But, again, these memories stick. And I don't know if I'm allowed to tell many other stories given our time.
I'm going to tell the most fun one.
Okay, let's do that.
And Mark, you were there for this one. We were in Central Alaska. You know what I'm talking about.
I think so.
So we were all kind of separated, different vehicles. Mark left me behind again, so I had to go rent another vehicle. No, I'm just
you had your own vehicle that time.
Mark had a cameraman on this trip, and we were traveling with a few other people, and just kind of covering different areas, just trying to see what we could see, figure out what we were going to do for our afternoon, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, this cow just bolted up out of the bottom of this creek bed. And it was the type of movement. I mean, she didn't slow down. She was just going. And it was the type of movement you think one of two things. Either she's being chased by a bull, which was probably the most likely because it was kind of right in the early stages of the rut, or she's being chased by a predator because she was definitely fleeing. And so I stopped pretty soon. Barrett Hedges, our friend that we've talked about in the past, Barrett and Twyla, his wife, stopped, and I kind of told them what I saw and why I was waiting in that spot. And then Mark and Mike and some other folks came along and stopped. And sure enough, this bull came up out of the bottom of this stream, and he was obviously looking for the cow. And so nobody was ready. We all kind of suited up on the side of the road, put muck boots on, that kind of thing, and just went into the trees where this bull had gone in and just listened. And pretty soon you could hear him calling. We got some pretty unique opportunities in the heavy timber, and it was raining pretty profusely. And that's when I came up with the redneck boot dryer idea also, because my boots got soaked. I had my pant legs tucked into my muck boots, and the water just leached right down my pant leg and into my boot. And so my boots were completely soaked. And so I had to make a boot dryer out of it was basically some auto hose. And then I just duct taped it to my heater and ran the hose down. So I had one branch of it going into each boot. And it took a couple of days before they were completely dry. But I think I had more fun on that encounter than I've had on almost any other wildlife encounter I've ever had, just because it was, oh, he's over here. Oh, nope, he's over here. just everybody's spread out and listening and trying to keep tabs on where this bull was, and the cow was just kind of running him ragged in the timber. So you just kind of had to wait till they gave you an opportunity. And you'd be photographing through a hole in the tree, and all of a sudden somebody's head would pop up on the other side of the tree, didn't know you were there, kind of thing. So it was just good fun. It wasn't you, it was Barrett.
That was fun. And you're telling the story with a smile on your face years later, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those that sticks with you.
And the color with the wet leaves, the rain that day, the color was just
that was beautiful. Yep.
Yeah, beautiful animal too. Nice bull. And yeah, that was fun. Yeah, wet feet for sure. But a lot of
soaking
fun.
wet feet. Yeah.
But that area, it's some openings, but there's a lot of vegetation, and you really don't have far sight line, right? So you just go for a hike and try to be ahead of the animals. But yeah, that was great. And did you patent it yet? I mean, I'm hoping that's working for you.
The boot dryer?
Yeah.
No, I certainly shouldn't I?
Yeah. There'll be no drawings of that on YouTube. I don't know if he'll share a picture or not.
None whatsoever. Don't even have the video anymore.
Yeah, I don't really have any other stories related to moose necessarily. I will say when I was up in Denali chasing animals around years ago, we didn't see very many animals on that trip. I think I've talked about that here before. But one of the excursions we did go on to go try to find a moose, I actually carried a person across the river because they did not have muck boots. So I put my muck boots on and backpacked them across the river. And that was a little sketchy because, we almost both went in the drink because of slippery rocks and stuff. But
are there any photographic or video evidence?
There is video evidence of this, but I don't think I can share it because I think the person I was carrying would not appreciate it.
So Harlan wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Oh, if it was Harlan, we'd be sharing it. Trust me.
So, those creek crossings can be totally. I mean, there's a hiking pole, but even then, right? The rocks are rounded, and if they've got a little bit of dirt on them and on the sediment on the bottom, but there are places you can cross too.
Sure. And this wasn't super deep. I mean, we were able to cross with muck boots. Okay. But it's still just the water's moving pretty good and it's pressing against you, and with the extra weight and one little slippery step on a boulder that you didn't expect to be that shape or something, you know how it goes. It could go bad in a hurry. So we made it across fine, and yeah, it's all good. I can't really go into much more, so maybe I shouldn't even brought it up.
Have you guys heard of Wiggies?
Wiggies.
I don't even know if they exist anymore as a brand, but they are the coolest. They won't last forever. And there was a store in Anchorage that sold them, and I don't know, it was about $80 or something. And it's called Wiggies, and they roll up into a package about the size of a football or less, and lighter than and what they are is it's basically a rubber legging with a tread on the bottom that goes over your leg, one for each leg, and at the top of the Wiggy is like a loop and a clasp that you put through your belt. And so I have those in my pack off and on hikes like this in case there's a bit. I mean, I'm not going to wade waist deep through a river to do this, but if it's knee deep or something like you were describing, Jason.
Right.
The fun thing about these is if there's just maybe there's 4 or 5, and again in bear country where moose are, and grizz country, not black bear, we have usually a group of 4 for presence around them, but. Go across the river, then you ball up the Wiggies in their fold in themselves, and then you throw them across the river to the next person.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's actually really cool.
So Google it. I don't know if they're still out there, or even if the shop. I bought mine over 10 years ago.
There is those Gore-Tex pullovers that they've got a sole, and then you just Velcro them to your, over the top of your foot, and just keep your regular boots or regular hiking shoes on.
Right.
And they go right over the top of it. But I can't remember what those are called. I know several people had them at Lake Clark, but
It's like hip waders. They're
yeah,
heavier though.
they're kind of a hip height, same as what you're talking about. They've got the belt loop thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, but I can't remember what they're called. I
So
don't.
these go over your boots. You don't take your boots off.
Hmm,
Too. Everything's over top. But yeah, they're not heavy like hip waders.
yeah.
They're light, roll up, packable.
Hmm.
Again, I don't know if they still exist or maybe there's something newer, but they were called wiggies and pretty cool for backcountry stuff like this. But yeah, fun trips. Um, yeah, I've got so many stories about moose country.
Did
You know,
change your number one?
No. I've got a whole bunch of number ones. I could do, there's got to be at least 7 number ones. You have to give me that. Not today, but over the course of all my years with moose, it's hard to pick one. But another one of my favorite images of the telling of moose country was not planned, and I was hiking up a remote ridge in Alaska. Pilly's with me on this trip. And we were on this knoll glassing and just sitting up there. And I spotted this bull moving across above us, maybe 300 yards or so. So she stayed on the knoll and I went off after him. And I was following up this ridge trail. I knew that country pretty well. There was a trail that goes along, and some of this out in the tundra, when you get on a ridge top, it can be amazing that the windsweptness of it keeps the vegetation off, and it basically can be a gravel path when we find those. And so I was following him up, and because she was back on the knoll, I'd periodically look over my shoulder and see if she was signaling anything, and should have had radios. We do now. But we were just checking on her, and below her, a cow and a calf were in a pond. And, I took a couple pictures of the bull, and he kept on walking. I turned and immediately was taking pictures of this cow and calf. It wasn't planned, but the landscape that they were in with the mountains behind them, and the kettle pond is what these small glacial ponds throughout the rolling tundra are called. They were in this kettle pond and made for a couple of really dramatic images. One's in the book, and we'll put one on YouTube here as well. But that was not planned, and that's often the way, right? These trips of wildlife, we spot something, and how the day unfolds is rarely what we can predict, and that's the wonder and wildness and thrill of what we do, whether we get the images or just the experience. It's best when we have the images because it continues to remind us of the experience more often. But that was a very special day. One more?
I can bring up one more real quick too, Mark, or maybe you can share one more too. I think it'd be good. But Dennis, I've talked about this one before, but it's just a reminder because it's so funny. But we went on an excursion to go photograph another moose that we'd seen in one spot day after day. And it was way up high on the hill towards the front end of the park, and didn't know what we were getting into. Long story short, it was super thick. We could see moose antler tips, and that's all we ever saw. We could never get photos of this bull. But the hike up there was fun. We weren't seeing a lot, so it was worth the hike. But on the way up, we'd seen a grizzly bear go across that area. So I had my bear spray out and handy and wasn't really thinking much about it, but just had it in my hand in case, we came across this bear. And as we were hiking along, that's when the ptarmigan flew up and about got a can full of bear spray, because I was not expecting that ptarmigan to come out from under my feet, as everybody who's had that experience can understand. And there was a very quick reaction, and it cracked up the other fellows that were with me for sure. So I wear that badge with honor. I almost sprayed a ptarmigan out of reaction, but so yeah, just quick. I talked about that one before, but it's funny. So anyways.
Yeah, it happens, right? Ptarmigan, grouse, just never know.
Yeah.
It's fun when they don't fly, and then the ptarmigan are so enjoyable to hang out with for a bit. I can't help but stop and listen to them, and I can talk ptarmigan too, but I won't do that. I kind of wore it out in Churchill when I was talking to them there.
Yeah. They don't exist there, but that's okay.
Thank you.
We'll,
I was throwing it out there. The
we'll
bait
keep, we'll
was
keep letting you pretend like they do exist there. And
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go on with the Tarmageddon AI experience that Drew Hamilton hosts, go ahead.
good times. Cool birds. The molting, right? Amazing to see that with whether it's Arctic mammals or birds that go through this change each year. I think of moose growing their antlers and shedding them, and then these birds change their whole outfit to match the seasons. Pretty cool. And be able to document that photographically, fun, and But yeah, Jason, they're can certainly hit an adrenaline rush if they take off underfoot.
Oh, man.
especially when you're thinking about bears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true enough, right? There's already a bear on the radar. Yeah, even worse. Yeah.
You just hit alert a little bit extra, So yeah. Anyways.
That's one of the things I think heightens the experience in the far north is just seeing bears or knowing they're there, and that alertness. Our senses are ratcheted up more than they are here at home or walking in forests that don't have animals like grizzly bears. So I think that makes everything richer. We just perceive it, right?
Absolutely.
I'm looking at more, I'm hearing more, I'm smelling more. And I think we take all that away because we can't make that assumption there.
Yep. Sorry, you're next. You got another one. I know you do.
So many. I'll tell one more. It's not long, but it's different, which is kind of fun. This one was in Newfoundland and was with Pilly again. She and I were scouting for caribou, and we were walking through some forest and bogs and following game trails, and came through this fairly thick willows on a trail, but taking our time and being quiet, coming through, and we popped out. And this is a beautiful color. The larches, tamaracks are all golden yellow. Stepped out and looked across this small pond, and there were 8 moose looking at us. And, immediately I got the camera ready, but in a controlled fashion, trying to move, fluid and slowly, not jerky, not fast, not spinning, nothing to make the animals think that my reaction to seeing them caused me to be quick, like a predator or something alarming. Staying calm and controlled and methodical with the movement. So I bring up the camera slowly, expecting them to leave, but they didn't. They posed and lined up in various groupings for about 15 minutes across this pond for us. I couldn't believe the opportunity, and with the number of them too. Turns out there was on our side of the pond, but still probably 50 yards down from us, there was a calf. And this is fall, so it's a big calf. It's not like a newborn or anything like that. Sorry, you have to watch moose with newborn calves, by the way. Mums are very protective. But that's another story. We weren't near any of the animals, but this calf, we didn't know it was over there. And so the mother, the cow, was one of the dominant females. She's one of the bigger moose over there. And she kept looking past the end of the pond. And then eventually this calf emerged and walked over to them. And when it did, they all turned and went into the woods. There was no running, no panic. But what held them there, we didn't perceive it. It was quite interesting because I was doing everything I could to get the best images in the situation with the color and the groupings of moose. There were a couple of young bulls. There was a big bull. There was 4 or 5 cows. But when the calf went over, they all went into the woods. But it was, again, we were thinking caribou, right? I mean, we see moose all the time, but that was an exceptional story because of the number of them that were there. And it was rut. So they were mingling and doing their thing too. So, but in a very different environment with the tamarack trees.
Awesome. Well, they're fun. The one unpopular opinion that I was going to throw out just to get your goat, Mark, is They're just not as fun as elk.
Oh, comparisons. It's, I love doing both. Elk are faster, right? Everything about elk in the rut is faster. I love the habitat with elk, the seasonality, the speed. They move more. But yeah, moose. Yeah, there's very different subjects, even though they're both ungulates, right?
They are.
Their antlers
They're
are
very
different. But yeah, I can see some people certainly enjoying elk more. I like both equally, and it's there's so much wonder in each of these species, similarities in behavior, but clear differences. I mean, a moose and an elk they look a lot. They look alike, but not really.
Yeah.
So it's a whole other subject. It's like, but there's certainly different things attributed to each the experience. But moose can get fast, but not, they're not going to run 100 yards at full speed like an elk, which is exceptional to see if they're, bulls are on each other that way. Or anyway, it doesn't. Yeah, there you go. But we could say that about any. I mean,
That's true.
they're all different flavors of experience, right? Caribou are, deer are, mule deer, white-tailed deer. When you're looking at considering antlered species, but elk definitely.
I think one thing that stands out to me about moose, especially the Alaskan northern moose, the bigger moose, is we've talked about this before too. But with elk, I think if somebody was wanting to build an elk portfolio, they could spend a good amount of time, say a couple weeks a year for 5 or 6 years, during different times of the year. A week during the rut, week here and there, other around other times of the year, you could build a pretty solid elk portfolio in that time frame. To do the same thing for moose, I think literally, Mark, before you wrote your book, you'd been photographing moose for 20 something years. Is that wrong? I mean, something like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This is the 30th year of my business now. It's creeping up, but yeah. Right. Yeah.
But the point is that I think it just takes longer. The opportunities are fewer and far between than they are with elk, and I think to build a solid portfolio probably takes longer. Not that you probably didn't have amazing images from your first few years, but to say you had a full solid portfolio of moose images that told the whole story of the life cycle and that, I don't know what it took. I mean, I guess 10 to 15 years, and that's going many different places and spending lots of time in that environment. So I think that's just gives some people some perspective about the differences, But
yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out. It was, but it's all fun. It was a lot of work over the years, and trips without a lot of success, and other ones with tremendous success. But going to different places. With the book project, it was important to have coast to coast to coast animals. I made a purposeful trip to Manitoba to get them. I do a lot in the Alberta, British Columbia Rockies, Newfoundland, Ontario, Quebec, and to represent all of the different habitat so that it was a complete project. Mm-hmm. But that's, it's a collection, right? And I had the privilege of time because I was working in publishing so much. The book came later on. The book project wasn't from day one. It was 15 years in, I was approached to do this book, and maybe even more than 15. And then I had a year to play with it, to fill it out. So, one of the last pictures for the book was there's a cow and twin calves in Algonquin Park in a misty morning, midsummer. And I really wanted to document another. I have quite a few from there. That's where it started for me. And, but that was a one morning opportunity. I went camping and then went for a hike, and they were there. It was, so it's collecting, right? Which we all love to do. And it was purposeful in the behavior and geographic distribution to represent the species as well as possible. So that was fun but again, it was many years into my collecting that the project surfaced too. So that was nice. It wasn't as stressful as saying, you've got 1 year to collect. It wouldn't be possible, right?
Right.
But that's the fun of it. And I think that's what makes the book meaningful to me too, is it covers so much of my time and in window into moose for people because of all those trips and adventures that, turned out. And there's other species that would be like that too. I'm working on the Wolverine book. It's going to take 210 years.
Yep.
I'm rooting for you.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, I've been talking to the publisher. We've decided to narrow it down to 6 images and 7 pages.
Nice.
There's always a workaround, right? Yeah.
Listen, let's make it 7 chapters, 1 image per chapter. Now you might.
There you go. There you go. I do have more book ideas brewing in my mind, though, and I've loved the ones that I've done. It's a privilege. Grateful.
Right.
Grateful for the publisher. Grateful for the interest in it, and for all of you purchase it, and the feedback I get. Extremely grateful. And moose will always be a favorite. But it's interesting when you pivot, right? I mean, we have trips. All of you do probably, right? You have a few different places you like to go for different species throughout the year, and at that time, that species is your favorite. Because you're there looking for those opportunities. And with moose, it always will be. But then pivoting to caribou, focus so much attention that way, and then learning about them. So there's so many flavors of wildlife to learn about and enjoy. So encourage everybody to get out there and live it up. Look forward to hearing about your trip on your way when you guys get back. I can't wait. And yeah, we'll do clearly a podcast on that too. So
hopefully we'll get one done up there.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do some in the field stuff for sure. So
nice.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just do some clips? I can just do some audio, like, oh, tell me another story, or that's great. What happened yesterday or this morning? Or so I'm not excluded. I'm just kidding.
That's not a bad idea, though. We could do maybe some shorts, Ron. It's like just daily updates. How'd the day go today? What do we do? Just in the field daily updates, 15, 20 minutes.
A new segment.
Great.
New segment. Yep.
Shorts in shorts.
Well, I'm not going to be in shorts.
That'd be awesome. Well, it'd be a great, storyline of events for a longer episode and shorts too. Right. Both. YouTube would love both, and we'd audio too. But that's a great idea, guys. And I'm off the hook. So there you go.
Yeah, you're off the hook until you head to the Great White North
trips coming up.
Yeah,
there's going to be some shorts and shorts from elsewhere.
I look forward to it. Hey, what do you guys think on closing? I see a lot of people using these. Do you guys have the DJI mics, microphones?
I will before I leave to go up there. I'm going to go ahead and invest in some. I've decided, but I know Ron has a set of 4. Or
I've got
two sets of 2. But yeah. And
they've got a version 2, and they have the little. But and the microphone cover's is it called a cat? It's a fuzzy cover. Dead cat.
Yeah.
It comes with that to muffle air, does it not?
Mm-hmm. Wind.
Cool.
Yep.
That's what I mean. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Wind.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe I should grab those, because I have some videos that work really well with just the phone. But as soon as the phone is turned a little bit with the air current, it can drop a fair bit. Still audible, but not as nice, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, the audio quality on those little mics are just that much better,
Okay.
So I still think you can record with your phone and just have your
for sure.
Yeah, have that mic on for the audio, and it'll be like that 10 levels better, So.
And tech question then: does it automatically sync with the phone? You plug it in, or is it an audio track you have to sync later?
No, it automatically will sync with the video if you
have it in. Okay.
Yeah, if you have it plugged in. Yep.
Cool. Well, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a fun collection of trips coming up for all of us, where we can do some of that content for Beyond the Wild podcast.
That's right. But who cares if we get audio? They're just gonna when BBC Wild decides to use our shorts in the field, they're just gonna do their own sound over stuff. So
Shorts and shorts, Jason.
shorts
All
and
right.
shorts.
So we'll
That's
just
marketing.
we'll pantomime it then. We don't need to worry about the audio. We just gestures.
Right?
signal,
Yeah, exactly.
Camera up.
No, I will bring some shorts, Ron, so we can stick with the marketing campaign there. So.
Yeah, we'll
That's
go
all it took.
boots and shorts.
Well, I'm going to bring some waiter shorts.
Oh,
Oh, wait, that won't work well.
no, that sounds like a lot of fun for me.
Oh, I'm going to let you wear them. Of
Oh,
course,
gotcha. Yeah. No, not so much.
Well, live it up, guys. And yeah, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a fun autumn coming up for all kinds of content from lots of different destinations and people, and of course our regular podcasts popping up as well. So thank you to our sponsors, Pictureline. If you need anything related to your camera gear or are curious about new equipment coming out, we encourage you to contact Colin Bigelow at Pictureline, and please let him know that you're coming from Beyond the Wild podcast. That way, if you do come up with a purchase, that they know where it's come from, and it helps us with our sponsorship with them too. Guys, it's always fun. Thanks for touching on moose today.
I don't think
feel
we
it.
had any choice, did we? Jason, do you feel like we had a choice?
Now, we were all kind of deciding like what's going to be the next species, and there was not much of a conversation.
Okay, we'll do moose tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I got to tell a quick funny story as we leave too.
Uh-oh.
The other night we were talking back and forth about, what night we were going to record this, and Mark came in. Ron's evening freed up, and Mark came in from cutting wood, and Ron said, "Hey, I'm good to go." And Mark said, "I can do. I got a shower." Then he came back and said, "Well, I might need like another day just to kind of get my head straight." And Ron literally was like, "Why do you need more time? You literally wrote the book on moose." I got a kick out of that anyways. But don't forget to go pick up a book if you don't have one. If you want incredible moose stories and images and biology, it is really a really good book. So,
Thanks,
Not
guys.
just saying it because Mark's on the podcast.
yeah, right.
It's actually good.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. And it's, it's only $20 in booksellers. The publisher priced it to sell volumes, so sell quantity. So you can't go wrong. And it's honestly, these books are a great motivator for fall photography or any season. But given summertime and people thinking about trips through autumn, they're great ones to inspire and get thinking about ideas, compositions, and what to do, where to go, kind of thing in the field. And the caribou is only is 25 at booksellers. We sell them, I think, for $10 more, just simply because we have to pick them up and then take them to the mail and that kind of thing. But purchasing from us supports us more than buying it online. Significantly different that way too. So if you have the opportunity, it's much appreciated. And for those that you have, then great. Not just great. Thank you. And their stickers. I got to order more. Gonna run out. Well, thanks, guys. Again, looking forward to the content that's going to be coming up in the near future and for the months ahead. Love being a part of the show and sharing our stories, experience with all of you. The guests that we have on continue to entertain and motivate us as well. So it's been a wonderful project so far, and look forward to sharing more with you and with my good friends here too. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you all have something to look forward to in the field. If for some reason you don't, I hope that our future episodes will help make you feel like you're there. See you next week.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.